And now David Cameron also said during his conversation with Aung San Suu Kyi, he said, I am aware that Sri Lanka has a human rights track record, and there is a lot of uproar about Sri Lanka's human rights track record. Yeah, he said he was not happy about it, and he said that he's going to have some tough conversations with the Sri Lankan government.
Yeah.
And there are speculations that one topic among these tough conversations would be the murder of a British national in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
And David Cameron was questioned about this initially in Parliament, in the British Parliament. How do you think the Sri Lankan government is going to react to these conversations, and what do you think are going to be some of the other aspects in these conversations that David Cameron is going to put out on the table?
Well, frankly, Mahina, if President Mahinda Rajapaksa is himself, if he allows himself to be himself, and if others around him allow him to play his natural game, I think he can handle it, because he has a combination of friendliness but also firmness, which can do the job. But if he allows himself to be wrongly scripted, and if there are other voices who are more strident and rude and crude and so on, that's the stuff that will be picked up by the international media. We have to know that others are watching, listening, and that we have to win over. If we can't even win over the person who's criticizing us, we have to win some segment of the audience behind that person. And at the very least, that be David Cameron or another leader who's critical, we must be able to raise reasonable doubts in their minds. Look, I mean, it seems like there's another side to the Sri Lankan story. Maybe they have a point or two. Maybe it's a little more complex than I thought. So we have to be able to do that. And we, I hope, also have other voices, significant voices, within the Commonwealth, such as South Africa, for instance, which is playing an important role trying to facilitate here.
And we actually saw a recent, I think it was on Friday, where there was a Sri Lanka-South Africa dialogue.
Absolutely.
And where the South African High Commissioner did say that South Africa will give all its support to Sri Lanka to find a solution to the problems here, and also about Sri Lanka's current status.
Well, I think we should seize that opportunity, because South Africa is a friend. Sri Lanka has been looking to Africa, but frankly, there's no point in looking to the rest of Africa unless we have a very good relationship with South Africa. That relationship cannot be taken for granted, because there is a strong Tamil lobby in South Africa as well. And it doesn't help our relationship with South Africa if we insult Navi Pillay or lie about her, because they're quite proud of Navi Pillay. Though they don't give her instructions. I mean, she does her own thing. So the South African willingness to facilitate between really the North and South is something that we should seize upon, and we should tell the rest of the world, look, yes, we're in a complicated situation, but we have South Africa willing to play a role, and we are happy about that. We want to learn from them. We want them to help us. But if our attitude is, hey, South Africa, great, come have a meal, well, as far as help, thanks, but no thanks, or, lessons, what lessons do we have to learn from anybody? And this is the current mentality within the state. I'm not saying it's the current mentality of the president, but it is the current mentality, the dominant mentality of the state apparatus, that we are happy to meet anybody, but we really don't need help from anyone. Except they should come and sort of invest their money here. But in terms of helping us in with dialogue, process, facilitation, there are no lessons we have to learn, and no assistance we need, even from our friends. Now, if that is our attitude, then our friends are going to start sitting on the fence. And you may have a South African abstention next time. Or they will move from that to a position which is against us, like Brazil, which was one of our closest friends. We could have asked the Brazilians for help, We didn't, we don't. So now the Brazilians vote against us. Malaysia is our friend, but Malaysia abstained the last time. Earlier they supported us. And now the Malaysian opposition says boycott. Something is happening right now. And this is not being taken into account, except to say, okay, why don't we just shut the doors and windows? You can't shut the doors and windows having taken over the chairpersonship of the
Commonwealth.
You can't do both. I mean, you can't control that. You can try, but it only makes you look bad. So you have to be able to swim in the open sea. You have to be able to compete, not just operate in an echo chamber where you're very happy when you hear the echo of your own voice saying that everything is fine.
Now, we see, because of the Commonwealth, Colombo is gearing up. We see the BMICH refurbished.
Lovely.
We see the roads being paved, and the city is looking very good. But the Commonwealth leaders are not just going to be in Colombo. They will be traveling.
Yep.
And one of the key areas they will be traveling to is the Northern Province. David Cameron has said that he is going to visit the North and that he is going to hold discussions about the situation there. Do you think the North is prepared for this, with this influx of state leaders coming in?
Well, I think the North is prepared for it. Whether the Sri Lankan state is prepared in the right way, I don't know. I mean, David Cameron may very well make some remark which is supportive of Mr. Vigneshwaran's call for the demilitarization of the post of the governor. We have to be ready for things like that. There are certain things that can be anticipated and which should and can be done beforehand. Myanmar did that, we didn't. And Myanmar had a military government, but they demilitarized much faster than we who do not have a military government. So the optics, we have to get the optics right. There will be those who go north with a huge amount of media people, and they will meet the Northern Provincial Council, they'll meet the politicians, they'll meet civil society, they'll meet the church leaders. So what we should have done and what we should do is to strengthen our ties, have a dialogue with Mr. Vigneshwaran and the Northern Provincial Council. Use the South Africans who are willing to do that, if we can't do it ourselves. Don't say rude things about Vigneshwaran, not in the run-up to the opening of Chogam, when David Cameron and others are going to be here with the press and go north. I mean, basically, think it through. I mean, know what's going to happen here. There's going to be greater transparency. We are never going to be the same again. Because once you're chairman of something, anything, it can be Maharajas, it can be a sports club, there are ways in which you are expected to conduct yourself. And if you do not, then that itself provides an opportunity for your critics to say, is this the way Sri Lanka, the current chairman of the Commonwealth is functioning? Look at the military governors or the ex-military governors. Look at this, look at that. Look what they're saying, whether it's Khurram Sheikh or the prison massacres or whatever. We have to not just clean up the roads, Mahina, or clean up the buildings. We have to clean up our act. And that's what we haven't done.